What's going on, people? Welcome to the YouTube channel. Today's video comes from Las Vegas and it shows officers from the SWAT team executing a warrant and being shot at by a suspect. Without any further ado, let's get into this one.
Police Department search warrant, 1125. Police Department search warrant. Police Department search warrant! Police Department search warrant! It's a 3050 South Dillon. Police Department search warrant. Police Department search warrant!
A 19-year-old man who was fatally shot by Metro Police in the Southeast Valley Monday had no connection to a murder probe police were investigating when they entered the apartment to serve a search warrant. Police today said at a briefing. Assistant Sheriff Andrew Walsh said Isaiah Tyree Williams, 19, was shot by officers several times as they tried to serve a search warrant related to a November 2021 homicide. 2 officers were injured in the exchange. The police did announce their presence by yelling "Police Department search warrant" multiple times before entering the apartment. SWAT officers first broke the window at the apartment and used loud distracts while announcing the warrant. Simultaneously, other SWAT members were trying to use a battering ram to gain entry in the front door. After the police made their way in, Williams, who was laying on the couch right in front of the door, immediately opened fire and struck Officer Kerry Kubler, 50, several times. The police have not been specific on how many times this officer was shot. 4 other officers opened fire until Williams stopped shooting. The 19-year-old was pronounced dead at the scene. Kubler was rendered first aid at the scene and was transported to University Medical Center, where he is continuing to receive treatment for the wounds to both his arms and legs. It was revealed that a bullet had been lodged inside his bulletproof vest, as well as gunfire taken to his holster and the rifle that he was holding. He's been with the Las Vegas Metro Police Department since 2008. Officer Kubler was struck in both arms and one of his legs. Kubler fired 1 round before he was shot. Clements fired 13 and the other officers fired 3 rounds each during the firefight. In all, 23 rounds were disposed by the Metro personnel. All officers were assigned to Homeland Security Division and SWAT team members. Williams fired 18 rounds from his handgun. Had he survived, Williams would have been arrested on counts of attempted murder with the use of a deadly weapon on a first responder, battery with a deadly weapon on a first responder, assault on a first responder, and 3 counts of discharging a firearm into an occupied structure. Detectives learned after the shooting that Williams was not the suspect in the homicide from last November, and that the suspect, later identified as 23-year-old Watzel Rembert, was not at the apartment at the time of the shooting. Rembert was taken into custody and booked into Clark County Detention Center a few days afterwards. Though Williams was not the intended target of the early morning warrant, Walsh defended the department's decision to serve a warrant at such an early hour. So from the beginning, I know there's been a lot of conversation about no-knock warrants. So it's been a big thing about you need to announce that you're police when you're there. I suppose in a country where a lot of people have legal firearms, obviously it makes sense. Even inside the UK, in a lot of our firearms warrants, a lot of the time if we're going to be entering an address, we will announce that we are the police. But also, it does keep us safe. A lot of the time inside the UK at least, when people know that it's the police, if they do have a firearm, sadly because our sentences are so short, it's not worth them levelling a firearm at a police officer to try and escape. They would prefer to try and hide the firearm or escape from the scene. And because you usually got containment, usually they've got nowhere to go. So they smash the door, they enter the address and they're immediately hit by gunfire. It's just a shame that the male who was at the front of the stick with the shield wasn't the person to enter the room first. But that's what can happen when you are stacked up on the address. When you enter, usually you go to opposite sides of the room into the doorway. The person who had the shield may not be faced first with the subject. The only other alternative is that everyone who enters has shields, but that's going to be too cumbersome. I'm sure in one of the reports it says that one of the officers at the rear window was shot at as well. If that's true, that means that during this gunfire exchange he had the presence of mind to shoot a person who's shooting at him from in front of him and also shoot at someone shooting at him from behind. 19-year-old guy. I doubt he's got any military experience. I doubt he's got any law enforcement or weapons experience in any serious or professional way. Guns are very easy things to learn how to use in a basic way. You have to learn a lot to be able to use it well, but a toddler can pick up a gun and shoot it, and that's why these situations are so dangerous. All this kid has to do at that distance is point and pull that trigger as many times as possible, and he can take down multiple officers. It's amazing that in this situation that none of these officers got killed. They all got unloaded on, and they had to fire a ridiculous amount of bullets back to make this individual stop. And this is where, yet again, this whole myth of shooting someone once and them immediately dying, that's not always the case. And it's also not what we want. We want the bullet to stop the individual. In the report, it speaks about them using some distraction devices. I imagine they mean stunnies or flashbangs, as you Americans might call them, but we call them stunnies. They smashed the back window and did that. But again, it doesn't take long for someone who's a criminal who already has access to weapons to grab those weapons. Tell me your thoughts on the situation. Tell me if you think the police could have done anything differently. It's a shame that someone who the police weren't looking for got killed. However, I would argue it's likely that he heard them shouting please and decided that he was going to be laying an ambush anyway. Thank you guys for watching today. I'll be back with another one soon. Peace.